An effective small group has a sense of purpose and direction, and its leaders know where the group is going. And they work intentionally to create a certain kind of small group experience. We call that the small group environment. And so you're going to be committed to creating a certain kind of group. And there's 4 elements to that environment, 4 elements to that group that you want to create. Number 1 is we encourage you to create an invitational group. Since maturity involves helping others pursue God, then that means that an effective group is going to have an outwardly focused mentality. And so as a leader, help your members learn to care about and include the people who aren't there yet, just as much as they care about the people who are there. And we see that invitational spirit in the Bible in John chapter 1. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of these men who heard what John said and then followed Jesus. Andrew went to find his brother Simon and told him, "We've found the Messiah," which means Christ. And then Andrew brought Simon to meet Jesus. You see, after he met Jesus, Andrew didn't just keep that relationship to himself. He went and shared it with someone that he cared about, someone that he knew, his brother Simon. He invited Simon into that experience of Christ with him. And likewise, our small groups are to be invitational. In fact, you launch a group by invitation. Don't expect people to come to your group just because they heard about it in the bulletin or from the pulpit announcement on Sunday. Get your team together and go out and invite everybody that you know. Start working the lobby at church before and after the service, just meeting people and being friendly. And as you hear people's stories, invite them to come and become part of your group as you begin. And we have a worksheet called the Group Launch Plan that will help walk you through those important steps. But then also train your group to think invitationally all along the way, not just when you start. There are great times to invite, times when you are beginning a new study or you're coming back from a holiday, that are great times to invite people to come and start in on your group. So take some time together as a group and brainstorm all the people that you'd like to invite and pray for those people. And take some time in your group meetings to plan for the next invitational event or invitational thrust. And so part of the group environment that you're committed to creating is to create an invitational group. Now, the second thing that you want to do to create a healthy small group environment is to create a group that discovers and shares the truth together. People learn and grow through participation. And so your job is not to be a lecturer. We don't want your small group to be a mini version of church where one person talks a lot and everybody else listens. No, your job is to be a facilitator and to facilitate the discussion that's going to help people to discover truth and process it and share it together with each other. That way they get ownership of the truth and it becomes active, not passive. In fact, we've got some great resources at PursueGOD.org to help you lead engaging conversations that are going to help people discover the truth together. If you'll just stick with those resources, you don't have to add all your own brilliant nuggets. You don't have to add your own little mini sermon. Just stick with the conversations that are in the library, and you're going to create a group environment where people discover the truth together. And then the third part of that healthy small group environment is you need to create a trusting group. Making disciples is more than just studying the truth together. People need a relational environment where they can process the truth together in the context of caring relationships. And that's what Ephesians chapter 4 talks about. Instead, we will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of his body, the church. That verse says that we grow more like Jesus when truth is combined with love. And so your job as a small group leader is to help create that environment of love where truth can be applied. Now, what that means is that it's got to be a trusting environment, a safe place where people can take the truth and apply it to their lives, where they can talk in real terms about what's really going on in their lives and what they're really struggling with, what they really need to tackle in their lives. And so that means as a group leader, you need to make sure the group maintains confidentiality at all times. And you also need to help your group learn to speak and interact non-judgmentally with each other. That's what helps to create a trusting group. Now, there's a fourth element of this healthy small group environment, and that means you need to commit yourself to creating a group that will reproduce itself. As a group matures, it goes full circle through 3 stages. The first is the startup stage, where you're gathering the group and setting the parameters. People get to know each other. You're kind of establishing the culture of the group. Then the second stage is growth, where the people in the group are growing in their own maturity, and the group itself is also growing numerically, and it's growing new leadership. And that leads to the third stage, which is reproduction, where your group reproduces itself by giving birth to a new group. Now, your ultimate goal as a leader is to reproduce your group. You've got to own that. You've got to keep that in mind from the very beginning and be intentional about it, because that's going to affect how you prepare your group, how you lead your discussions and group meetings, how you give away assignments. All the rest will be affected by that long-term goal of reproducing your group. And we have a worksheet called the Group Reproduction Plan that's going to help you succeed at doing that. Now, here's the thing, is that you're not going to be able to move forward through those stages of growth unless you have a finger on the pulse of what's happening in the life of your group, unless you're doing some ongoing evaluation of the group and its members. And we call this assessment, and we see the biblical precedent for this in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, starting in verse 1. The Apostle Paul says, "When I was with you, I couldn't talk to you as I would to spiritual people. I had to talk as though you belonged to this world, or though you were infants in Christ. I had to feed you with milk, not with solid food, because you weren't ready for anything stronger. And you still aren't ready, for you're still controlled by your sinful nature. You are jealous of one another and quarrel with one another." And so the Apostle Paul's evaluation of these people's spiritual maturity helped him decide what he needed to say to them and how he needed to work with them. And likewise, as you assess the life of your group on a regular basis, you'll know how to speak the right truth at the right time to the members of your group, and you'll be able to discern what your group needs next. All because our goal is to reproduce our group. And if your group's ever going to reproduce, you have to own that vision. You have to promote it. You have to plan for it. You have to care about it and implement it and be working toward that end from the very first day that your group begins. And so this is your first responsibility as a group leader, is to create a healthy group environment. And our resources at PursueGOD.org will help you succeed at that goal.